Okay, here we go. Round 4. Try to get this going. All right. My name is Brian Conn. I'm going to show you how I took $5 and I turned it into about $3,000 in a very quick time period. About $1,200 of which I could have easily gotten within a matter of days. But I did some other stuff and did a little bit longer. So I'm calling this $5 into $2,500, but you could have really called it $5 to $1,100 in a week, with not a lot of effort. So we're going to go to GSA Auctions. This is a government website, government auctions. I'm going to log in here and show you a couple things. Now, one thing I want to show you first is that I've spent a lot of money here. Most of it has been well spent. A couple things along the way, not so much. So here we go into my summary. We'll look at all my trades, and we're going to look at all my trades real quick, just so you know that I'm not just some guy, with some theory. There's reality to it, and there's my money behind it. There's $6,500 I spent on a truck. The first major purchase I made in 2011 here on this Ford F-350. Then we'll scroll down, some small stuff. Here's $10,565 I spent on a truck in 2012. Here's $6,500 I spent on another truck. But that's not what we're really looking at. What we're going to really look at is the brass. And it starts right about here. I spent $95.50 on brass here. I spent $56.50 up here. You see it up here. $79.79 here. Here's $21.30 here. $25.34 here. Now mostly I was buying. Here's another $69.70 here. $56.11 here. And these were 2, 3, 4, 5,000 pounds of brass shell cases. As you can see, a lot of them, like here it says brass casings, scrap fired brass, scrap brass. It's all shell casings from government agencies, FBI, customs, etc., that they auction off, and then people reload it. I have some customers that use it for jewelry purposes or whatever, but I clean it up and I resell it. Takes a while. For example, this 5611, I might have bought that brass and took 4 months to sell it and doubled the money. But that's not really the ones we want to look at. What I want to look at is this one here, $5. Brass shell cases. And then you look down here, $25 for nickel-plated shell casings. And then you look at this one, $25 for brass shell casings. Now, this one was in September of 2015. And these were in January of 2016. So about 90 days apart. Okay? And they're at the same location. So we'll click on this one. Now, you'll see $5. One bid. And there's a picture of it. Brass in a box. Great. Who cares? Big deal. Here's a big deal. I paid $5 for approximately 800 pounds of brass. And you can see what it is from the photo up there. The per pound scrap price at the time was about 85-90 cents a pound. And this was not 800 pounds. When I got there and picked it up, it was more like in the neighborhood of 1,150 to 1,200 pounds. So at 90 cents a pound, 1,200 pounds, that's $1,050, $1,100 or so. This brass is in Jamaica, New York. If you know anything, Jamaica, New York means Kennedy International Airport, New York City, JFK, right there, giant industrial area, surrounded all around there. There were scrap yards within a half a mile of this place where I picked it up. So I could have picked this up, taken it straight to the scrap yard, got 90 cents a pound. Spent $5, $3 in fuel, a couple hours on my time, some time on a computer, had $5. So realistically, within a week, and with 3 or 4 hours of work and a truck I owned, I could have bought $1,200 worth of, $1,100 worth of brass for $5. So I'd have gone, paid $5, picked the stuff up, spent 30 minutes putting it in the truck, take it to the scrapyard, dump it out, get a check, get cash, whatever, and made a whole hell of a lot of money. That's not what I did with it. Strangely enough, this brass came back to Kansas, and a lot of it got sold back to a guy that's 3 miles from there that uses it for jewelry. It's just kind of ironic that he's back in Brooklyn and this brass is in Queens. I find it a little humorous. All right, so then, 3 months later, I did the same thing, the same place. In this case, a bid of $25 for approximately 660 pounds of brass. It's nickel plated, but it's still brass as far as the scrapyard's concerned. And this was really not 660 pounds. It was more like closer to 1,000 pounds. And then the second lot on the 5th of January that I picked up, it says 620 pounds. It was more like about 800 pounds. So this one all told was about 1,800, 1,900 pounds. I put it in the back of a Ford F-350. It pushed my springs down pretty good. So it was somewhere in the neighborhood of just short of a ton. Once again, in this case, $50 that I could have bought this stuff, taken it to the scrapyard, got a check or whatever for probably, say, $1,650, $1,700, something like that. So $1,100. I take $50 out of that. I spend it again. I take that, so I've got, $10.50 left. I get that $50 back along with $1,600 of his friends. Next thing you know, $5 over 3 months, a couple days work, $2,500, $3,000. All right? Now, there's tons of these things out there. They're not all like that. They're not all home runs. Occasionally, if you're not careful, you'll, like I did, spend $5,000 on some stuff that I was happy as hell to get $2,500 out of it. Stupid purchase. One of those trucks I bought, I made $3,000 on it in about 60 days. Another one of the trucks I'm still driving. The third truck I bid on it. I really didn't want it. I got the one and only opening bid. It's $6,500. I spent about $1,700 to get it to me in Texas. I used it a little bit, certainly $1,700 worth of use for after about a year or so. Sold it to my buddy what I paid for. I was happy to get out of that one. So you got to be a little careful, but $6,500 is a lot different than $5. I mean, I don't care what it is, and I don't care how destitute you are. $5 is not a lot of money. And if you can turn it into $1,100 or $2,500 or $3,000 or whatever the case may be, even if you can just turn $5 into $50 in a week from making a little quick purchase, it's worth it. And your risk is $5. Your risk is not $6,500 like some truck you bought that you can't get rid of. All right, so food for thought, things to think about. There's tons of these things out there. The government does dumb shit every day. They sell stuff at prices that you lose your mind. All right, so enjoy the video. I'll put some other ones up here in more details on some of the other things I'm doing, but this is the first one to start to show you that I'm not full of shit and that these things can be found. Mostly you look under a rock, there's nothing but mud and roaches, but you look under enough rocks, sometimes you find a ruby or a diamond or a big chunk of gold. Alright, y'all have a nice evening, and God bless.